I
Okay.
use look, I use this technology a lot when you travel. So,
Yes, it is.
and
It's
that's the
one.
one thing I usually forget to hit record. So it pops in my head.
Yeah, that happens a lot. So,
So you usually forget to hit record?
I do. I
Okay.
do.
okay. So let's go ahead and start with what your vision is. Let's get your vision
Okay.
on the table.
Well, my father told me a long time ago that a man or woman that is truly blessed with a vision, the vision itself will be greater than the individual. And what I've seen is a lot of great stars, like everybody on this call. You're a star, Lee's a star, Wade's a star, Celeste is a star, Sean is a star, Wade is a star, Rashad is a star. And so we're all stars within our own right. We're all small businesses. And so therefore we have a lot of things that we have in common. And as I look at, what's going on in the communities, one of the things that we're not doing is we're not aggregating our strength. No one individual that's on the team possesses 100% of the strength necessary to take their organization or their vision to the next level. So until we learn to successfully trade and integrate within our community, then we don't stand a chance when we go to the greater community, because what's going to happen is we're going to fracture.
Okay.
And so the question becomes is, what do we have to do to promote sustainability? What I like about what you're doing, and let me be more specific, what I love about what you're doing, and I communicated to you this going on 3 years. I begged, pleaded, that's okay. But now she's here. It's the courting process. If you want something bad enough, you can't give up.
That's right.
He's been consistent.
So, but in our community, we have to control the narrative. And the way I look at it, you manage the eye gate and the ear gate, which is what people see and what people hear. And you do that with audio, video. And with all the things that we're seeing on television, these things that portray us in a not so positive light. I like the fact that you work with the youth, you work with the community, you have history of reaching out to universities that sometimes may and or may not reach back. I'm a Shaw Bear, and when I heard that you got help from A&T, my question was, Lord, have mercy. You got Shaw and St. Aug here, but she has an apprentice that came all
the way to Greensboro.
So then, to me, that spoke specifically to, did they take her seriously on the local level, or was there some other capacity things that she needed to have in place where we can work collectively, and get that done? So, and then the other thing is, I have educators. And Tamisha, you're an educator. Lee, you're an educator. Celeste is an educator. And then we have pure business people. Me, I'm not necessarily a business. I'm not an educator.
So let me ask you a question.
Okay.
What's the
you are.
Where's
Oh, thank you kindly. Thank you kindly.
about what you see as far as the solution to what you're saying?
Well, if you want to begin with the end in mind, I put out a number, and I did not put it out there vainly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna stick to the number I put in that email communication, which was 250 million.
Okay.
I was criticized by a former client of mine by drafting up $100 million business plan for a college. We had the accountants and look at it, and the accountant said that it was feasible.
Okay, so are you proposing that we come together to make the Dream Vision Center? What do you call it? What do you call it?
The Vision Center.
The Vision Center.
The Vision Center.
And what is the Vision Center?
The Vision Center is a multimedia shared services venue, okay, that begins with our ability to prophesy or tell our story.
Okay.
And what you've done brilliantly is that in all of the video that you've done, the way I look at it is, when people talk about content, is you've told a lot of stories.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so the question is, how do we leverage your ability to tell a story, to encourage both young and old to play a part in social and economic development for our community?
Okay, so let me stop you there.
Stop.
Lee,
Yes.
tell me more about what you do.
Let's see. I have a few hats that I wear.
Okay.
I do curriculum development and training for a national nonprofit called Unidos US.
Called what is it called? What is it called?
Unidos US. They went through a rebranding last summer, if you will. Formerly, they were called National Council of La Raza. It's kind of like the Urban League, but for the Hispanic community. So they have a lot of different arms. They started doing advocacy and social justice work, but they also have a housing component and community economic development division, and that's the division I work in. And I'm part of the training entity within that division. And so I help create new courses and implement training, programs throughout the country and online. What were you going to say?
And so so it's online, and so are they engaging groups of people? Are they just give them the website? Are they charging people for the curriculum? How is it set up?
We get a large chunk of our funding from HUD. We are a HUD-approved training intermediary. So, and we also, and that relationship extends from the parent company. So our parent company is an intermediary. We have organizations around the country that we give funding to. And so when we decided when the organization decided to start a training arm, you can go through HUD and get your curriculum approved. I've actually worked on some of the committees that help approve curriculum as well. So we're approved our whole gamut of classes are approved by HUD. So anyone who's a housing counselor, and as of last year, housing counselors now have to be certified. We provide training to help them prep for that test. We provide training on foreclosure. But to answer your question, because we get funding, a large chunk of our funding from HUD, we can offer scholarships. Those scholarships are directly funded through HUD. But we do also charge. So if someone doesn't we offer full scholarships and partial scholarships. So someone may get a scholarship that will cover tuition, hotel, and up to $300 in travel expenses. If they don't get a full scholarship, maybe they just get tuition and hotel. They have to cover their own travel, or they may just get tuition and then they have to pay for their hotel and travel. We also, even with our webinars, we have a certain number of scholarships for each class that we are allocated. So most of our counselors don't pay. If they work at a nonprofit that's also a HUD-approved agency, they don't pay for our classes. But we'll oftentimes get people who are, getting ready to maybe start a nonprofit, and so they want to get their training ahead of time, and so they may pay for our classes. And that goes for our in-person as well as our online and our e-learning and our webinars.
And usually how long is a course?
It varies. We have, on the in-person, we do anywhere from a 2-day to a 4-day course, depending on the course. In e-learning, it's either 1 week or 3 weeks. And the webinars are usually around 2 hours.
Okay, and so you have webinars, you have the e-learning, and then and the 2-day, are those workshops?
Not necessarily workshops, although we do, especially since I came on board, we do add a lot of practicum into them. So that way when you leave one of our trainings, you're able to implement immediately what you've learned. But they're not necessarily workshops per se. They're actually full training courses on a particular topic. So if you're trying to learn if you're a housing counselor, you're trying to help your clients prevent foreclosure, and you take a foreclosure class, you will leave there knowing how to help your client. You will have the tools, the documents, the resources, everything. Okay,
and so the nonprofits are people that's helping the community, assisting them in housing and economic development, that's also taking your courses. And usually what's your price point for courses?
Say that again.
What are your price points? The price points for the course.
You know what? That I have to look up because I don't handle that part of it. So give me just a second.
Okay, and so in you calling Lee to the table, you're looking at okay. So Lee, let me tell you a little bit about what I do while you're looking that up.
Okay.
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 Hold on. So what I do is I actually teach kids. I actually teach kids. I have started a curriculum where I teach kids how to do video production, web design, social media marketing, with the auspice of teaching the difference between good media and bad media, a lot like junk food and healthy food.
Right.
Challenge them to create stories that are positive, that are existing inside of their community, where they can actually change and shift the paradigm of what entertainment actually is. And so what that looks like is I usually like to work with fraternal organizations, social organizations, civic organizations to really tell the good works that are going on inside of communities every day that most people don't know about. And so we've just developed our own platform. It's sort of like a YouTube with positive programming. It's more structured in that the people are the kids. It's primarily kids. I engage kids from ages actually 3 to 25, where our college students are our mentees. They're actually receive training to help do extended learning opportunities, where there are summer camps, after school programs, and inside of those extended learning opportunities, they're administering the curriculums that we have written to actually come out with a tangible product of marketing, whether that's a web page, video, or whether it's a book. The common theme that runs through it is to be able to tell positive stories, where that's highlighting civic acts of duty, whether it's honoring our military, or whether it's shine the light on the Omegas having a summer camp in the summertime. So it's really having positive stories to combat some of the negativity when you look inside the African American with the lens of a camera. And so that's primarily our goal. We've been doing it for 16 years. I've done it as a charter school teacher. I've done it myself independently. And what I'm doing now is looking to scale it into other markets, specifically through a civic organization that I specifically joined because they don't have a national education component. And my goal is to actually move this to fraternal organizations as an educational component for the kids in the organization. So I'm looking at curriculum development. I'm looking at moving kids and really engaging them in extended learning opportunities where they're learning a marketable skill set. And so our goal is to create massive curriculums that would then be utilized through communities that would teach a community how to operate as an education hub around those kids, and those kids being engaged, creating tangible things that actually change the paradigm of what African Americans, how they view themselves.
Okay, that's wonderful.
That's kind of where we are right now. What I say is, who said Hollywood had to be in California? The kids can actually do the work. We've tested that out. We've actually shifted the way that one fraternal organization in this area views what they're putting out on the internet. And that's what we want to continue to do it over the next 2 years in several communities. Hold on, this is one of them.
Okay.
Hello, Celeste. Hey, so we're here in the meeting now. We're just introducing everyone.
Hey, Celeste, how you doing?
All right, is this the number I'm supposed to call?
Yeah.
It's we have the online the Zoom connection.
Yeah, that's the one I was telling you about.
The Zoom connection. Did you get the in the chat room, on the email, how did you get
invite?
On the invite? It's on the invite.
I can't find the invite. I don't think I got it.
You didn't get the okay. Go to Zoom meeting. Yeah, let me send it to you again. Let's see. Hold on. I resend it to you. Yeah, hold on, let me see. I'll resend it to you. Copy.
It's funny, you and I are the only two that accepted the invite.
Oh,
We're
really?
gonna have to work. We're gonna have to work with our people on technology.
Hold on. Let's see. I'm gonna email it to you. That's the right way to do it, right, Celeste? Email it to you.
Yeah. But I don't see that it went to her, or at least her name's not on here.
Yeah, I think I did it last tour. Hold on. Hold on. I'm coming.
Are you going to send it to the group?
I can.
And doctor, some of the things you're sending through are not file supported by my system, so I can't see all of the things you're sending. It might be best if you put it on Hangouts instead of the chat.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Okay, so let's. I just sent it to the Zoom meeting invite to your email.
Did you send it? Can you send it to Gary too?
Okay.
Do you have his email?
I'm gonna put it in the.
It's in the Google chat.
I'm gonna put it in the group.
Okay.
So while you're doing that, I'll add, so the curriculum development is one hat. I also am passionate about teaching. And that's actually how I got involved with Unidos US, because I came on as a trainer with them in 2010. And so my current role is, doing development, and I'm also the coordinator of the training group there. But I also teach with a small university that I'm getting my PhD through. So I teach, I've taught entrepreneurship and marketing. Entrepreneurship is really where my heart is. And so I'm a certified facilitator of the Ice House Entrepreneurship Training Program, which is really based on this Black sharecropper in Mississippi. And it's just these life lessons that help you attain an entrepreneurial mindset. And so that's something I do with my company, and I'm looking to do, I should say, having taught entrepreneurship to college students, especially college students overseas. My students were all South African, and seeing and starting to actually change their curriculum a little bit, because the university just teaches, oh, this is how you write a business plan, this is how you do a financial. And so I was like, no, there's more to that. And she keeps going in and out. So this entrepreneurship training is really more of a real life. This is how real people do it. This is how real entrepreneurs get their start. This is how you find opportunities. Go ahead.
And how do you charge for that service?
Well, the organization that I do it through has a flat fee, and their fee is $100 per student, and that gives the student access to all the training materials online for a year. So then I layer on top my fee, and that has as yet to be determined. But in the process of just kind of checking out the market and seeing what is going to be a good price for that. I'm thinking probably around $500 because it's going to require an 8-week class online. And so it's going to require 8 weeks of my time. Now it's not obviously 8 hours a day, etc. So I'm looking at that and trying to determine what's going to be the best price. And I'll have to get back to you.
And so you said $500, but that's, you haven't really determined if that's solid.
No, that's what I've seen, and then just pulling up the information for the organization I work with, like their webinars are $500, their e-learning classes, the 3-week is $500, the 1 week is $300, and then the in-person classes, the 2 and 3 day classes are $900, the 4-day classes $1,000. So I don't know. Well, like I said, I haven't finished my research yet. So
okay. So and the reason that I'm asking you is that if we are in line with the vision here, and and kind of what we're looking at. I'm just trying to see price wise because it helps me understand what a budget looks like as far as if I wanted to send my mentees to your entrepreneurship training that was serious about it, then we're creating the pipeline.
Exactly.
And
right.
so
No, I get you.
my goal is to understand who at the table could to assemble the pipeline.
Right.
Let's look at what it looks like, who are the pieces involved, so that when the money comes through or whatever comes, we're ready and we kind of know who does what. And so with the development, that's huge for me because that is where we're going. And I ain't trying to write the curriculum.
Absolutely.
I'm really good to sit in front of people and get them to open up their pockets. So if I got somebody in the background and say, hey, I can write the curriculum, Tanisha, then I just need to know what that looks like as far as the budget is concerned.
Right.
Okay. And curriculum development is a different price because that does take concerted effort, constant. You know what I mean? Usually there's a timeline for that. And usually I charge $60 an hour, and it just depends on how much curriculum you're looking for. So that's something we can kind of talk about.
I guess the other thing I would like to segue is that when it comes to workforce development, there's a big, huge need. In North Carolina, the governor just announced yesterday $60 million additional to add to workforce development. Federally, they're pushing workforce development as they push forward the America First movement to start hiring and putting workers back to work. In the meeting earlier today, I was surprised there were 3 organizations in the B Corp meeting that were focused on putting felons back to work. Ironically, none of them looked like me. Okay.
Wow.
And that's not ironical.
Well, agreed. So where I saw the synergy representing KMT Heating and Air Conditioning is Sean Oliver has a powerful testimony in terms of how he ended up in the heating and air conditioning. Now he would present himself as an humble guy, but he has one of the highest certifications available by both the United States and the North Carolina Department of Labor, which is certified apprentice.
And how do you see us tying into that?
The way I see that tying into that is because on one hand, you have to organize the content. Okay, so the first thing is to tell the story. So the first thing is you have to tell the story. Our story is that we want to educate a community and put them back to work. And what we're saying is we want to educate a community and put them back to work using 5 principles: science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. Which
so what's
is
the first steps? I'm sorry, I just got it. I'm on my work.
So the first steps is doing exactly what we're doing now, is by bringing the team together and let everybody talk so they can kind of see where they align. And I'm going to close on this point. I saw a relationship between video, audio, virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, which people call virtual reality, right? And game design. And what I do know is that a lot of our youth are connected to this gaming concept. But the same technology they use to do your videoing and to do VR, we're using it right now. Heated air conditioning is going to be obsolete if we can't do BIM, Rivet, virtual immersion. So instead of you looking at a blueprint on a flat scale, picture yourself in a building and creating a design of an existing building, or literally in the design of a new building as it's being built. Those type of skill sets, you already have a deficit for mechanical, electrical, and plumbing skill sets, but this is going to broaden the gap. And so one of the things that we have at our disposal, if you see when Celeste sent the extension to everybody, did you see all of those? NCCER stands for the National Center for Construction, Education, and Research. We don't have to recreate the wheel if we have access to multiple portals that already have certifiable content.
Okay, I got you. Celeste, you're online, right?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so can you tell Lee what you do?
Good job.
I'm just trying to keep
Great job. Great job.
Keep us on task.
Yeah, I like that.
You've worked with Doctor before, haven't you?
No, I haven't, but I just want to make sure.
Yes, she has indirectly.
To stay focused, because he's a visionary, and I get it.
Right.
Okay.
I'm good at Excel spreadsheet too, by the way.
Noted.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's get a picture of what you're doing.
So my day job is, excuse my voice, I have a little bit of a allergy sinus problem, but my day job is a school principal at the North Carolina Correctional Institution for Women. It's the largest state prison for female offenders. And prior to coming to the women's facility, I worked at a men's facility in Butner, North Carolina, Polk Youth Correctional Facility. And so in that, I work with inmates in obtaining their high school equivalency diploma,
Don't
as
forget
well
CET.
as obtaining,
Don't forget CET.
prior to that, coming to the prison system, I worked for a nonprofit called Center for Employment Training, but the similar clientele in that the students coming through CET were ex-felons or underemployed individuals or unemployed individuals who needed job training skills. And so in the prison system, we provide a lot of vocational training, such as quick copy and tag plant. So all of the North Carolina license tags that are on our cars, they come through the prison system. We also have Correctional Enterprise where they build furniture and they do upholstery. So there's a lot of vocational training that's done in the prison system. And then some of those services, the inmates get paid as job assignments, but you're talking not more than $3 an hour because of their sentences. But if they don't have a life sentence, they will get out and hopefully use those same skills to become employed. We have apprenticeships in the dental lab, in cosmetology, in horticulture, in quick
Here's my
plant.
resume, man. I don't know. These guys respond back so quick. ALCART.
Gary, we can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry, y'all. My bad. Sorry. Sorry about that.
So all of that is to say that the opportunities that our inmates in the state of North Carolina have to gain viable skills, the prison system offers it through their partnership with the community colleges. Whether or not the inmates actually use those skills when they get out is a whole nother story, but we do at least provide the opportunity. And so,
is there also job placement assistance with that?
Through the apprenticeship program there is, and through our transition coordinators, they have a home plan. And so as part of their home plan, they try to connect inmates with employers who will hire ex-felons.
Okay.
So,
I have a thought on that, so we can talk about that later. But
so that's my background.
Okay.
We saw that you just joined in. Hi, I'm Tanisha. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Gary, are you there?
Oh, you talking about me? I'm sorry. Hey Doc, how you doing? I'm actually working too. I am sorry, man. I'm Gary Jones. I'm a producer and host of a radio talk show, syndicated talk show on 5 stations called Get With The Program, a radio station. I'm on AM and FM commercial and community radio. Also, I'm also streaming as well. The show actually will be on about 12 o'clock today, so you can stream it from one of your locations. And I also have
can you post the link for us?
Yeah, I can send you the link. I sure can. I also have a marketing business called Information Connector, LLC, which is where people have their businesses. And if you want to get your business out to different people, I have about 4,700 some email addresses where I send out e-blasts to people that want to know about your business. So I have that as well. But that's among some other things, but that's just a start.
Serial entrepreneur. I love it.
Not your black.
I just saw you, man. I was just
saw me.
I was just with you.
Gary, wasn't it surprising that we were in the meeting where we were kind of the minority, but what surprised me was that with B Corps, how they were talking about giving back to the community and how they
Yes.
specifically talked about training of felons and programs like that. Wasn't that, how did you feel being in that environment, hearing them say that?
It was, Doc, it was really surprising because, you know, I had some guests on my show. I had some different diverse cultures on my show, Caucasian, whites, or whatever. I had them on my show talking about the same type of conversation about helping inmates. It was really different. I'm gonna be honest. It was really different from that meeting to know that they were interested in helping people to get back into the workforce. So I was really shocked at that, but it was surprisingly. So, but what I'm finding out is that some people are beginning to realize that there's value in not just race or cultures or colors, people. Period. They're finding out that there's value in it. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, keep going.
She was going to say something. Yeah, I believe there's value in, they're finding there's value not just in race. I mean, you got people that could be the inventor or a person that could be someone that could cure AIDS or cure cancer, but you won't hire them because of their records. So I think they're finding out that they're missing a whole level of cureness, a whole level of success by discriminating against people who have records.
One of the things I hope to get.
Well, can we table this B Corp discussion? I want to talk to you about it, and then we come back because it is a B Corp corporation. So whatever it is that you guys got introduced to, then that means that they're looking for here. And so that if I'm hearing that you guys went to a meeting this morning on H Street grounds where we were talking about B Corp and talking about reaching out to felons, and we've got someone on the line that is sitting at a prison, and we've got curriculum development here, it sounds like to me maybe that a prototype for what we're doing could actually come right out of HQ and be presented to HQ and be the prototype for where we want to be and how we want to move.
Right. One of the things that I want to get back to the video and the technology and the narrative. Again, one of the things I really appreciated about what Tamisha brings to the table is the storyboard. And we have to begin the whole process with telling our story. And so I'd like to get some feedback from Lee, if I can, in terms of your thoughts, in terms of the video, the audio, the virtual reality, and how you see as a not only an educator, but a person working on a PhD in entrepreneurship, how do you see using the technologies and what Tamisha and everybody brings to the table? And see, Gary, he's got the loud horn. He can put that word out that way too. So could you speak on
that? I will chime in. Yeah. You know, I feel like a millennial, even though I was born probably 10 or 15 years too soon, because I just love technology. And I was fortunate enough to finish my master's online. And I remember the hesitation in doing that because it wasn't an accepted thing at the time. People weren't sure, like, is this going to count as a regular degree? But the benefit of that to me is, and I got my master's in business, and I went to the University of Phoenix, which, regardless of how you may think about them, they use some incredible technologies. So in a few of my classes, we actually had these wonderful simulations. So you got to actually walk in the footsteps of an HR manager and make decisions based on, you know, how your budget and how many people you needed, and you had to look at supply chain, and you just had to walk through that. And it took me to a level of understanding I never would have gotten by just reading it in a book. And most adults learn kinetically. You know, they learn by kind of getting their hands dirty. Right. So what I've took from that and what I use in my curriculum development is I'm always trying to hit three ways of educating: visually, orally, kinetically. And if you can hit those three, most people are going to be able to understand, and not just understand it, but own it. You want them to take ownership of what you're teaching. And VR takes that really to a whole nother level. Right. If you haven't tried it, I recommend, you know, go to Dave & Buster's, do what you got to do, put on a VR headset, even if it's just for a couple minutes, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Because I think of how I felt immersed in the knowledge when I did a simulation, and that was just me looking at a screen and kind of walking through and making choices, but actually being able to physically be in that space and see what that feels like. I think that's going to be amazing. Now that's you know, it's down the road because that's going to be quite expensive, I
They're
think, to
doing it
develop that
today.
technology.
They're
Yeah.
doing it today. We went to a couple of meetings at NC State. Here, we're
wow.
starting to see in the mechanical contracting space, contracts that we, although we have all of the characteristics and can do the work, because us as a company are not technologically enabled. I mean, we can do Microsoft project, the project costs and all
Right.
that. But because we cannot do a 4-dimensional interface with the blueprint room, you see what I'm saying? Then we're unable to participate. And so,
But can't we outsource that like anybody else would? I mean, that's what.
I think that I have something because I'm hearing, you know, and I want to keep us on track. I want to let you guys off the phone at 11 o'clock. And what I like to do, and this is what I learned with Modern Whitman, is a bank that actually sponsored me for quite some time. They taught me how to plan. They taught me how to take a conversation into an action piece, and then from an action piece to a piece that's funded, or a piece that actually people can actually see, want to give more to, and then therefore it starts demand for what it is that you want to move forward. And how we do this with the kids is that we go ahead and pull them together. We're looking this summer to do an actual summer camp. That way it gives everybody an opportunity to work with everyone. Everybody can see exactly what pieces are brought to the table. We can see the machine moving as one.
Right.
So I would suggest that, and I want to, after the meeting today, Dr. Nalanubi and I, we got some time, are going to sit down and talk about moving closer to the vision by being able to pull something tangible together. And I think that because we're sitting in an HQ spot and because they are a big corporation that gets funding from working with felons and working with kids, we bring what we're doing to them so as that as a model of what can be done, not only here, but also have a center in Charlotte. They also have one in Greensboro. And the guy who started this place is very forward thinking. But I want to make sure that
what's his name?
His name, I forget it. He smiles at me all the time. But we can get on a more intimate level. And he wants to know us on a more intimate level. But I'm always leery about the team, credentials, where we're going, how it fits, and that kind of thing. And I think if you work through a model, I will send you out some information. I think that the podcast and where you're going, Gary, I didn't ask you questions about where you distribute it to. Who are? I know you said that you had several radio streams. Where do they go to, and where? What's your coverage on your streaming abilities?
Our streaming ability, as far as the streaming ability, I mean, you deal with streaming. Streaming is worldwide. I mean, you know, you can just click on the link. As far as my listeners, what I do is I send an e-blast out to my potential listeners in my email. And of course they forward it out to people as well. And just click on the link, click on the hyperlink, and the show comes up.
And you say you've got how many people listening in that blast?
I got about 4,700 some people.
And you are here in Raleigh, locally?
Yeah, I'm in Raleigh. Now 4,000 don't always open up, but I get a good amount, you know, of people with email addresses. Absolutely. I'm in Raleigh.
Would you be interested in lending some of your talents to our camp this summer, where you're actually maybe teaching the kids how to hands-on? I like what you said, Leah, in 3 components: audio, visual, and then kinetically. And that's what we ask for in our summer campus, to be able to engage with these kids. And what I'm asking you guys is an opportunity for you guys to sign up to work with us in increments of 2 hours, to give 2 hours of your time to do those 3 things. Then what that allows us to do is to look at the team. Who is the team? Then for us to say, okay, what's the price of this? What does this look like price-wise? When we do this again next year, because my goal is to continue to engage these kids year-round, and then to pitch it and bring it to the Panhellenic Council, because I think first we need to tell it to our people before we go
or the
out.
Grand Lodge of North Carolina, or the Grand Order of the Eastern Star.
Or any
organization like that.
Organization like that.
Hey, speaking of that, is this the Tanisha that I spoke at the event for?
Yes.
Okay.
Full circle moment, right?
Hello, sister. How you doing, my sister? How you doing? Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, I had to make sure. Okay, all right, my sister. All right, okay.
Oh no, Gary. I think you're getting her mixed up with Cindy Patterson, with Christy Patterson.
I am. Is she a star?
No.
Oh, okay.
Got her mixed up with Christy Patterson.
I got to mix them. But I know her though from somewhere.
Yeah, you know
that name from somewhere. Yeah.
I've been doing work in the community for quite some time.
Okay.
And I think that because we are out of HQ and it is a B Corp corporation, you heard a bit of it this morning. I think that what we can actually do is pull together a model that people look at and say, okay, Tamisha, how much does this cost? And something that is scalable in other markets. And I think the key to that is curriculum, right? So Lee, to have you on board is great. I want to hear what that price is because we work with a large spectrum of kids, and I just want to be able to get pricing. And I want to be able to look at a team of credentialed people that can actually sit down and sell this to power players and power brokers that really want to kind of cash in on the certifications and the training that's coming down this pipeline based upon this America First movement again.
Right.
Well, I can stay on the call after 11, so if you need me to, I'm here.
Okay.
I don't have any appointments for the rest of the day, so I'm yours.
The other thing is we have two approaches here. You have the macro approach, which is more big picture, but you have the micro approach, which is more immediate. And we're basically working two sides towards the middle because essentially all of us that are on the call have businesses or jobs that we participate in every day. My purpose being on the call is not only to collaborate, but to iron sharpen iron, because we need, from my perspective, in terms of one of the things I think we need to go around the room and talk about the WIFMs, and the WIFM is simply what's in it for me. One of the things that was
Let's do that. Let's do that before we got 10 minutes. So what's in it for me? You're the visionary. Go ahead, start off.
Well, what's in it for KMT Heating and Air Conditioning and myself is, our vision is to give back to the community. But at the end of the day, we need to create jobs because we cannot bid on contracts when we don't have good people. And we've tried subcontracting and it doesn't work. So we need to go a W-2 type of route. But if we don't have our children in our community that are going into the trades, and those of us that are in the trades need to create relationships with academicians, trade schools, and industry to be able to put together the resources necessary to go out there and train the workforce. So for us, we want to show our exposure to the community that shows that it's not always all about the money, although we need to make money. And so as this goes, I'm hoping, and my expectation is that we, along with the taglines for advertising and so on and so forth, that KMT is shown as a advocate for this initiative in the community, and the return on investment is future staff, and then anybody who you come in contact with that your message happens to reach that needs heating and air conditioning, whether it's for business or for residents, that they would think about us in terms of giving us the business. But we need to be a product of the product, which is to say, it's one thing for you to have a skill set. It's another thing for us to take that skill set to our community and grow it.
Okay. What's in it for me is to be able to create marketable job skills for young people. So I mean, it's just that thank God.
Job creation.
When you come into downtown Raleigh, I'm a chocolate speck that is very evident to see because we're not here. We're not here, and we're in the new Silicon Valley of the South. You sent the article out the other day, where Congresswoman Maxine Waters saw that there was only 1 to 2% of African Americans in this. That's right. In this industry, and this industry is a top paid field. And so my goal is to be able to get kids coding, get kids understanding video productions in boardrooms where visual images are being conducted, and being able to drive a new platform that can change the shift and paradigm of how we do African Americans. So what's in it for me is to be around other people that are credentialed in what they're doing, such that we can form a team to be able to scale this, and to be able to put us in key positions where we can crank out a different curriculum and institute it as educational hubs in communities across the country.
Love it.
Celeste?
All right. Well, what's in it for me is my goal is to share entrepreneurial education to disadvantaged communities is probably the best way I can say it. youth, of course, people of color, of course, people re-entering society. So I was excited when Celeste came on and said what she did, because that's something I've actually been pondering and working on. And I want to do it on a national level and potentially a global level. For those of you who don't know, I spent 7 months in South Africa. It was an amazing experience, but there is a lot of need there, especially on the educational side for Black people, because of former apartheid policies that are still really in place, even though the law has changed, kind of like what we see here with systemic racism. So I would love to help facilitate and be a part of that educational piece, because I think, and it's not just entrepreneurship training. What I've learned is the training that I facilitate is actual self-efficacy training. So what it does for a young person, and there's actually studies, I can send you some white papers on this, some studies that show when you teach somebody, when you raise their level of self-efficacy and they understand that they can do it. It's really, it's a mindset shift from seeing, the negative things in the, community that they grew up in, to being able to see, you know what, this is my past. This is what I grew up. It does not define me. And I can then do whatever it is that I want to do. And whether they want to be an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur, whether they want to start their own business or just help a company that they're working for be better, or just help themselves. It's really a personal development. So I see it aligning with almost any kind of training that you're doing if you're wanting to help young people or to help people who are coming out of the prison system, et cetera. I also have a call center that I just started that I'm getting up and running. And really my focus with the call center was to work with people who have previously been incarcerated, because I have a family member who's in that exact same position. So that's what made me think of doing it, and thinking of what are his job prospects when he gets out. It's going to be minimal. But if I can employ him and maybe partner with some organization to have space and that sort of thing where he can come in and work, then that is going to reduce his chance of going back into
recidivism.
And
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
Is this like a virtual call center where they just kind of log on and answer calls?
Absolutely. They'll just need to have a hard phone line and an internet connection. Those are the only two requirements.
We have
the organization. Okay, so that's my focus. I'll
can you say something?
Celeste, what's in it for you?
What's in it for me is to grow TNT to provide job skills, marketable skills for youth and for unemployed, underemployed adults, and to merge the two training, I guess, pieces, and to be able to streamline, to be able to train youth as well as adults, and to maximize, get in on this growth that's happening in Raleigh.
Absolutely.
That Black folks are not left behind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Gary?
I'm sorry. You said what's in it for me, or what are you saying?
Yes. What's in it for you?
In terms of this task force we got going on, what
You
would
mean-
you like to see? What benefits would you like to realize as a result of being associated?
Oh, that's okay. That's more clear. I guess I got to learn more about. Really what's going on, because I just heard a second, because I'm working at the same time. I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm working at the same time, but I heard the lady pose a question about me putting in work to help to teach the children, to teach the kids something. I just need to know more about what's going on as far as that. But
Go ahead. I mean, what I'll do is I'll send you guys a link to get connected. We ask for volunteer teachers, and the reason that we do that is because what I like to do is form a team. And people we can all be doing different things. And this is a great way for you to sit down, come up with some way to engage kids that can show off or can benefit you and what you're doing, whether that's getting the kids to send out your link to their family and friends and understanding a little bit more about radio, getting them engaged, showing them a little bit about marketable job skills and how to be able to effectively run a business directly from someone that is an entrepreneur, exposing them to those things. And so I'll send you some information about that, but it's a great way for us then to take it to HQ and say, hey, you're a B Corp corporation. You're looking for ways to engage the African American community as part of your status to receive this funding that makes you a B Corp corporation. Here are the people aligned with this particular program, and we want to be able to not run this from Raleigh, but to scale this from up to other areas, and here's what it's going to cost you.
Okay.
So I really want to be able to say who we are as a group of people. We've got a lot of volunteer teachers that worked with us last year, but I think it's a great way for us to kind of come together, understand each other's work dynamic, understand and builds relationships among us so that we can take that to a whole nother playing field.
Mm-hmm. And I'm with it. It sounds good to me. First, to answer your first question, I am 100% in about helping the kids, the children, 100% free. I don't have a problem giving any information. I love that because that's our future regardless. They need help. And I just want to know what it is that in return that we're getting from an organization that we're presenting this package to. What's coming back?
We determine that. We can determine that.
That's a great question. What's the return on equity, or what's the return on it?
That's right.
You know, for me and Gary, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I'm listening to some of the questions that Tamisha is asking, and one of the things that she is formulating is her pricing strategy in general. I think that once we collectively come together and organize the synergies, then we can also organize, because I like to do activity-based costing. So if I would take this organization or any organization and break it into 4 parts, the market, the operation, the finance, and the human resources, what we're basically saying is the marketing costs A, the operation costs B, the financing, the cost of money costs C, and then the people cost D. And when you add all of those costs up together, you have certain activities that happen over time, and therefore we can create our budget in terms of sources and uses of funds. So if you're going to start on one extreme and say that this is the future and at this number, and this is the inventory, but then you come back here and you say, this is how we step it off iteratively. And over a period of time, your iterations get bigger while you prove the model on a smaller scale. Okay. Once we prove it on a smaller scale, then we can duplicate it.
And that's exactly right. And I've seen it happen. So what we want to do is we want to be able to get that small scale together. I mean, we're looking at a plan to sell this to civic organizations and fraternal organizations. They're opening their eyes. They like the idea of the video piece of it and rechanging how they're seen in the community. I want to table this discussion. We've got this room booked only till 11 o'clock. When we have meetings, they're only going to be for an hour. What we want to do is get this information written up and maybe call a second meeting, if you guys want to continue the conversation.
But you're going to send the video out to everybody.
But I'm also going to send an opportunity for you to be a part of what we're building, such that you're at the table and we're able to take the small model and we're looking at scaling it, going to other areas. And just like Dr. said about you getting your price point, let's not ask them what the return on investment. This is what the price is. Right. For me to be a part of this from a 2-hour scale, and we're going to take this 2-hour scale to a whole day. You give your 2 hours for free, but the whole day, we want to expand your curriculum the whole day. This is what it costs.
Right.
And so I really want to kind of see what that is, and for me to make the visuals to show people what it is that the kids are engaged, how they're being engaged. And then if you want to look at Celeste is also president of my board, and like how she said, moving from the children to the adult.
Exactly.
Then we can modify those curriculums.
Right. And see, we need adults too, because to me, what we need is a platform. So when I talk about the story, the narrative's the same. When you have a vehicle, it doesn't matter whether kids are riding the vehicle or grown people are riding the vehicle. Right. And what we need is a vehicle, but the vehicle begins with the story that we're telling. Right. In terms of how we're going to empower the community. Because
that lets people see, what they're funding.
Right. Yeah, because we need grown folks in the heating and air conditioning business.
So we'd like to thank y'all for stopping in on the call. Like I said, they're only going to be like an hour long. We'll take this information, we'll riv it up. It's actually going to be recorded, sent out to you guys. Y'all can see it. and then we can build from here.
Can they share? Don't share it.
Wonderful.
Can you share it?
No,
We don't. I don't care if you share it. Do you care?
I don't care.
Does anybody else cares if somebody shares this video?
Okay, so we'll send
Okay.
it out to you. Thank
There
you
it is.
guys, and
Peace.
we will.
I didn't do my makeup.
You beautiful just the way you
Let
are.
me know next time if we're gonna,
Okay,
put
well,
it
here you
out
go.
there. I'm just
Then what
saying.
we'll do is we'll keep this one internal, and the next one we can be.
Beef it up.
I'm just
Hey, Doc,
kidding.
as a matter of fact,
I'm just kidding.
I just sent you. I sent you the link to the show. Comes on at 1. I believe it comes on at 1. But if you're in the Raleigh area, you can just pick it up on WAUG AM 750.
Can you put?
Where did you post the link?
Can you post the link?
I just sent. It's on my website. But I just sent the link to Doc in his. I just text you the link, Doc.
If you
You
send
can
it to me, I'll send it to the group.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
And that'll be on
All
at
right,
1.
Gary, I look forward to listening to you.
But if you're in the Raleigh area, you can just turn your radio on at 12 noon.
I'm not.
We can do
Okay, I
that.
understand. All right.
Take
12
care.
noon
Take care.
Eastern.
Thank
Okay.
you, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so